Yeah, you know it's getting real now. You know it's getting real now. You know we weren't making things up. We wasn't just tripping. Oh, Stephanie White got on camera and said it. She admitted they blew it. There's no size on the team. There's not enough size. Stephanie White finally admitted her, Amber Cox, Kelly Crosskoff in the front office blew it again for a second straight offseason. They blew it in an offseason in which 80% of the players were free agents. This is nasty work.
I think we've started to sketch some together. What we'd like to see, who we'd like to see play with each other in an ideal, situation. We've started to put some of those together. New York also presents some challenges because of their size and their length, and we're not very big.
You just realized that? You just realized you should have known that. They got Satu at 6'4", Brianna Stewart at 6'4", Jonquel Jones at 6'6", 6'7". I'm telling, didn't they, brother? Lady Phoebe 6'4". 7-footers coming off the bench. You got Sophie and Lexi on the wing. That's cool. Outside of that, these guards is little as hell. We got a bunch of little 5'8", 5'7" point guard, two shooting guards running around outside of Caitlin Clark.
Just to be the best that we can be, but at the end of the day, we're all humans who love this game, who love to be around each other, who value shared experience. And when I think back on my career, it's not always about winning the championships and hanging the banners and getting the rings. It's about those days where we struggled in practice and the journey with your teammates and the relationships that you have to this day because of that journey that you shared.
At all. When we told y'all it made no sense, some of the moves y'all was making, y'all called us complainers, all types of stuff. So now when it's real and the live bullets is going on, we not using size as an excuse. I'm not letting you use that.
The Indiana Fever just publicly admitted they destroyed Caitlin Clark's championship window. Head coach Stephanie White looked directly into the cameras and said the quiet part out loud, using words that should absolutely terrify every single person who wants to see the league's biggest star actually win a ring. She didn't just question her own roster construction. She called her front office's financial decisions baffling and admitted they fundamentally lacked the size to compete with elite teams. This isn't some subtle coaching speak or diplomatic media relations. This is a head coach throwing her own executives under the bus in the most catastrophic public meltdown in WNBA front office history. And the worst part? Everything she's saying is absolutely true. Here's where this gets completely insane. The Fever had the ultimate recruiting advantage this offseason. 80% of the league was available in free agency, and they possessed the one thing every elite player wants: the chance to play alongside a generational offensive weapon who draws double teams the second she crosses half court. When you have Caitlin Clark running your offense, basketball geometry becomes simple. You surround her with massive floor spacers who can shoot over rotating defenders. You need 64 wings who can punish teams for sending help. You need towering presence that forces defenses to respect the paint. Instead, the Fever front office did the exact opposite of everything that makes basketball sense. They drafted Raven Johnson, a 59 guard. They retained a heavy rotation of players standing 58 to 59. They built a roster that looks like it was constructed by people who have never watched Clark play a single game. Now listen to Stephanie White's devastating assessment when asked about facing elite opponents like New York. She explicitly stated, and I'm quoting directly here, "New York presents some challenges because of their size and their length, and we are not very big. We are not very big." That's not coaching strategy. That's a public confession of organizational failure. The head coach just admitted on the record that general manager Lynn Dunn and Kelly Crosskoff completely failed to provide her with the physical tools necessary to compete with championship-level teams. She's essentially telling the media that her own front office set her up to fail before the season even started. You know what's wild about this admission? The Liberty are rolling out a rotation featuring Brianna Stewart at 64, Jonquel Jones at 66, and Satu Sabally at 64. They're a towering defensive wall specifically designed to suffocate passing lanes and force turnovers. The Fever's answer to that defensive juggernaut: a backcourt rotation consisting almost entirely of undersized guards who'll get their shots blocked into the third row. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. The lack of size is only half of this nightmare scenario, because Stephanie White didn't just question the height of her roster. She openly questioned the accounting and used a word that should make every Fever fan break out in cold sweats. During a media session discussing the new CBA, White looked into the cameras and called the salary numbers her own team handed out this offseason baffling. She said it was crazy. Those were her exact words. Let that sink in for a second. The coach of the team is admitting on the record that she doesn't understand the money her own front office committed to the roster she now has to win with. This isn't some minor disagreement about player evaluation. This is a head coach publicly stating that her organization's financial decisions make no sense to her. When your own coach calls your contracts baffling, you've moved beyond simple mistakes into organizational dysfunction territory. Get this? Let me give you the exact context of why White used the word baffling, because that word doesn't come from someone who's at peace with her front office's decisions. It comes from someone who's doing the math in real time and absolutely hating what she sees. Kelsey Mitchell got a $1.4 million Supermax deal. Aaliyah Boston secured a 4-year, $6.3 million extension. The Fever brought back Tiara McCowan and extended Lexi Hull while signing Temi Fagbenel as a veteran addition. Every single one of those deals individually can be defended on paper. Mitchell is a proven scorer, Boston is a foundational piece, and Hull showed flashes of potential. But when your head coach tells the media that the numbers on her own roster are baffling, she's revealing two critical things that should scare the hell out of Clark fans. First, she had limited input in those financial commitments. Second, she's deeply concerned she can't build the team she actually wants with the money that's left on the table. Now here's what nobody in the mainstream media is connecting, and it's the most important part of this entire disaster. Caitlin Clark is entering the final stretch of her rookie contract, which means next offseason she's going to be eligible for a massive extension under the new Supermax provision. That extension is going to be worth several $1 million per year, and it's money the Fever absolutely have to spend if they want to keep their franchise player happy. By committing massive multi-year money to a crowded guard rotation right now, this front office has aggressively eaten into the cap space. They're going to desperately need to surround Clark with elite talent when her extension kicks in. When Stephanie White says the current numbers are baffling, she's essentially revealing that this front office spent aggressively in year one of the new CBA without fully planning for year two. They're learning salary cap management on the job during the prime years of a generational superstar, which is organizational malpractice of the highest order. But wait, it gets worse. When you combine a front office that failed to draft size with a front office that handed out questionable contracts, you create a highly pressurized environment where the coaching staff feels the need to lower expectations before games even start. This is where Stephanie White's media availability took a turn that should absolutely infuriate every Caitlin Clark fan. When managing a generational talent like Clark, the organizational standard has to be uncompromising excellence. The championship window is incredibly narrow in professional sports, especially with the parity in today's WNBA. But listen to the concerning corporate speak White used to temper expectations before the season even begins. She looked into the camera and explicitly stated, "When I think back on my career, it's not always about winning the championships and hanging the banners and getting the rings. It's about those days where we struggled in practice and the journey with your teammates. Are you kidding me right now?" Let's be completely ruthless about this reality check. In professional sports, when you employ the greatest offensive weapon the sport has ever seen, it is absolutely, unequivocally about winning championships. Fans are paying premium prices for tickets and merchandise. Television networks are paying billions for broadcast rights. Players are dedicating their physical prime, sacrificing their bodies and personal lives for the singular pursuit of lifting a trophy at the end of the season. When a head coach goes on camera before the first game and claims that banners don't matter as much as the journey and the struggles of practice, that's not inspirational leadership. That's a massive red flag suggesting the coaching staff is already laying psychological groundwork to excuse a potentially frustrating season. She knows the roster is undersized. She knows the financial flexibility is compromised. And instead of demanding an elite standard of execution to overcome those front office failures, she's publicly pivoting to the importance of friendship and personal growth. That's not championship mentality, that's participation trophy thinking. Here's the kicker that makes this whole situation even more maddening. Caitlin Clark didn't spend her entire offseason completely rebuilding her shooting mechanics and preparing her body for a grueling season just to have a nice journey with her teammates. She didn't become the most dominant college player in basketball history by accepting moral victories and moral victories. She's here to dominate. She's here to win. and she deserves an organization that matches her championship ambitions. The core of Clark, Mitchell, and Boston is still incredibly talented, and a championship run is absolutely still possible with the right adjustments and execution. But the unforced errors baked into this roster construction are going to create massive headaches throughout the season. And when those headaches show up on the court in crucial moments, Stephanie White is going to be the one standing at the podium answering uncomfortable questions from reporters. Not the executives sitting comfortably in luxury suites who created this mess in the first place. So there you have it. The Fever's head coach just admitted her front office built a flawed roster, handed out confusing contracts, and failed to surround their generational talent with the right pieces. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about organizational competence and whether the Indiana Fever deserve to have Caitlin Clark carrying their franchise. The preseason is here, and we're about to find out whether this roster construction was simply imperfect or completely catastrophic. Here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Do you think Stephanie White was right to publicly call out her front office, or should she have kept these concerns behind closed doors? And more importantly, can this roster actually win a championship, or is Clark's rookie contract window already wasted? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening in Indiana, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell because the games are about to start, and this story is just getting started.